Thank you for your interest in Cyber Church of Christ. I have noticed on our YouTube that we're getting more and more views. Uh, and there should be a topic of interest for you in the over 150 that we have out there to study. But we'd love to study with you in person and answer your personal questions. We answer with the Bible. You ask a Bible question, we give Bible answer. We don't really have opinions. We do whatever the Bible says. Today's topic is called render. Pretty unusual topic. Render, what's the definition? Well, it's a verb, which means to provide a service, to hand over, or give back, or to help. So you, normally like a paycheck, you know, would be a for rendered service. You'd have a paycheck. All right, let's look at this. I got a comment here on Jesus used the verb render for a, I don't like the way this highlights, hold on. Jesus used the term, the verb, render to thwart what was engineered as a trick question. So what happens is Jesus has a whole lot of followers, okay? And these followers are really tapping into the Jewish, what we call, in the law of Moses, the chief priests and scribes. They're running the Jewish synagogues. But Jesus is real popular with his teaching and a lot of crowd following. They got to figure out a way to get rid of him somehow, some way. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our brains together. Two minds are better than one. We'll get all the chief priests together and scribes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a plan. We'll send an orator over there, a plan that'll trick Jesus to where we'll ask him a yes and no question, where yes is a gotcha and no is a gotcha, and then we can go back and tell the people, that the guy is basically not who he says he is. So that's the whole plan. All right, so Jesus is going to use the verb render to thwart what was engineered as a trick question. Choose between honoring Caesar and his law or honoring God and his law, which is the law of Moses at the time. Jesus grew up in the law of Moses. And then he's got to pick which one. Now they're going to use money, a coin, as a prop. Okay. So anyway, it's a good plan to trick Jesus. What I've done is I've taken passages from Luke and Mark, both, to try to put them chronologically. But to get everything, you would look at, this is one of my favorite passages in the Bible, by the way. And then you would look wherever it is in the Gospels. If something's repeated in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, then we're going to look at all four deal. Today we're looking at Luke and Mark. All right, let's start off with Luke 20:19. And the chief priests and scribes, the same hour, sought to lay hands on him and feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. What parable? Well, if you look in Luke 20 at the beginning, you'll see there's a parable there that has to do with what ends up being basically they're hypocrites. And what happens is the chief priests and scribes, they thought, well, he's talking about us. I mean, if someone calls you a hypocrite, you don't feel bad about it unless you actually think you are one. Then you get all offended. Yeah. So that's what's happened here. So the chief priests and scribes, they go, man, what do you mean by lay hands on him? What does that mean? Well, we're going to capture him. Okay. Like put him under, like arrest him or something? Yeah. Yeah, we need to do something about him. Well, why is that? Well, because the people. We fear the people. Actually, they're tapping into our popularity and our money and our position. And then what Jesus is teaching about is that you don't have a hierarchy inside the kingdom. Right now, they have chief priests and scribes are bosses to the people that are following Moses' law. He's going to get rid of that. Anyway, this Jesus guy is a big is a big thorn in the side of these chief priests and scribes. We got to do something. All right. So once he insulted them and called them a hypocrite and said, that they're more interested in the physical things than the spiritual things, and they didn't want to hear the truth. But here is their motivation: fear. So what we're going to do is we're going to capture Jesus, and then we're going to go from there. Luke 20:20. And we're going to also look at some, like we always do, we'll look at some pronouns. And they watched him and sent, this is Luke 20:20. And they watched him and sent forth spies, plural. Okay, who's the they? I'm doing pronouns. They are the chief priests and scribes. That's your noun. Okay. They watched him. Who's the him? Jesus. He's out teaching and all. What we need to do is basically catch him in a trick. We'll get him to say something and it means something else. So anyway, you guys go out there and find some type of contradiction that Jesus is teaching. All right. So verse 20, Luke 20:20, and they watched him and sent forth spies which should feign themselves just men. Now, what is this feign, F-E-I-G-N? Oh, well, it means fake. Oh, so acting. Well, yeah, that's what a spy does. He pretends somebody else, and then he's out to get information. Okay, so we want you guys to go spy on Jesus, pretend you're one of his disciples, and walk around. And then what I'm wanting you to do is what we're really interested in here? Words. So the gotcha is going to be words. We're going to catch Jesus with his words. So they don't know he's the living word. And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. Huh? The governor. Well, yeah. Do you know what's happened here? This is Abraham's land, and what happened is Moses came across the Red Sea, and the Jews went ahead and went back to their promised land, starting with Joshua, and then busted up into 12 tribes and took over Abraham's land. All right, now we have the Caesar, we had the Roman Empire come in, and they took over our land. And then they took over the government, said, hey, this is our property now. And they'll go down to the docks now and they'll collect the import-export fees and the whole bit. Okay. And if you work for them, if you work for the Romans while you're actually a Jew, what are you called? Oh, those are publicans. So you'll see that occasionally in the New Testament. And they think it's kind of like a trader guy, but Matthew worked at the dock and as a bookkeeper, and he still worked at the dock as a bookkeeper even after the Romans took over, after Caesar's. Anyway, here's your plan. We're going to get a hold of him. Then we're going to take him to the authorities, not the Jewish authorities. We're going to take him to the Romans authorities, all right? And then we're going to deliver him into their party and then this is a good plan. We'll get the government to the invading government here. We'll get them to get rid of Jesus. Then we can wash our hands of the whole thing. Then they won't blame the chief priests and scribes. They'll say, oh, no, that was Romans that did that, not the Jews. All right, let's see how the plan goes. Mark 12. So now we're going to go from Luke 20:20 to Mark 12:14. All right, Mark 12:14. And when they were come, they say unto him, Master. Okay, I see your trick already. So you're already faking that you're one of the believer guys, huh? Yeah, and then you're going to do what? Well, we're going to pump him up first of all, give him a huge compliment. Then we got our gotcha question right here in our pocket, but we'll time this thing, all right? When they were come, this is Mark 12:14. They say unto him, Master, we know that thou art true and carest for no man, and there's a colon there. For thou regardest not the person of men, and there's a comma. What does that mean? Well, we have a commandments, and there's no respect to persons. Oh, so no, Jesus is not going to go and give you some high mark because you got some title that some man gave you. He's going to treat all humans the same. That's what this carest for no man is. And now regardest not the person of men. Anyway, we think you're the true guy. You know, uh, we've been listening to you. I mean, you don't know we're a spy, right? And we find out, you know, what you're saying is true. You're a true guy, huh? And no regardest to the person. But you know what you do? You teach us the way of God in truth. Okay. All right. Are you finished with your compliments there? Yeah, I got a colon there. Now, here we go. I'm going to pull this question out of my back pocket now. Is it lawful? Or you're going to use the word law because you want to do God's law versus Caesar's law. Okay, yeah, it's a good plan. That ought to trick Jesus. So we'll use the term lawful here. Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar or not? Okay, well, that's interesting. Because really, you know, here's what happens. I don't want to pay taxes. You know, these people came over and the Romans, they came over and took on our land and then had to us pay taxes. Yeah, come and collect taxes from us, and they're the invaders. Okay, so now since he's taxing us all, oh my God, I got a trick question for you here, Jesus. Should we pay Caesar? You know, I mean, he's here illegally. He came over and took over our land. This is actually promised land for the Jews. And they have an illegal government running here. This illegal government says they're going to pay me. They want me to pay them taxes, but so I know that's bogus. Anyway, we'll get Jesus on here so he can either say, no, you don't ever pay taxes to the government you don't agree with, and not. So, okay, yeah. So, yeah, that is a real good question. You need to pick. You need to pick between God's law and Caesar's law. So, yeah, I'm glad you guys got together and came up with this trick question because that ought to get him thinking. That should trick him. All right. So Mark 12, 14, and 15. So the teachest the way of God. Is it lawful? So the big trick here, is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar or not? Yeah. Yep. Let's see how you answer it. Because yes is bogus and no is bogus. Let's see what happens here. You know, in the United States too, what we have is people that don't want to pay taxes. You know, I know the government, they do all kinds of stuff that goes against the Bible. And since they go against the Bible, I ain't got to pay them nothing. I ain't paying no taxes in the United States. Okay, well, that's the same question we got here. We don't like Caesar and his doings here. We don't like him running a deal, so we don't need to pay him. Okay. So actually, this is a modern day thing. Do I have to pay taxes to a government I don't agree with? Well, good question. So is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar or not? Let's wait and see now that we got the trick, let's see what Jesus's answer is here. He's going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Mark 12, 15. Shall we give or shall we not give? Huh? Yeah. Give or not give? I got to hear this. But okay, who was the we? Well, the we was this, actually, it's all of the Jewish people, but we're speaking for the chief priests, the chief priests and what we call them up here, scribes. They're the one, you know, they're experts. Shall we give or not give? But this is Jesus now, knowing their hypocrisy. Well, what's hypocritical about that? Because you don't really believe to begin with. You're just trying to come up with some trick deal to come up and trick me. So now you're a bunch of hypocrites. Okay. Well, isn't that a sin to call somebody a hypocrite? No. He called 17 times Jesus called somebody a hypocrite. And you know what they were? They were hypocrites. Yeah. But he, knowing their hypocrisy, said unto them, why tempt ye me? What does that mean? Why are you coming up with a trick question? Huh? I mean, you ain't got time to believe and follow and all that, but you got time to get your heads together and come up with a trick question, right? All right. So first of all, let's ask you, why is there a trick? Okay. Now that I know you're a hypocrite and you came up with a trick question, here's what I'm gonna do. Bring me a penny. Well, penny's like the lowest form of coins that we have. That's right. Bring me a penny that I may see it. Well, why ain't you already got a penny? Why didn't you just pull it out of your pocket to do this little exercise here? Because I don't have money in my pocket. Judas has the money back. Judas keeps all the money. Oh, all right. So anyway, you're going to try to trick me. Bring me a penny that I can see the penny. All right. So they brought a penny. Mark 6, 12:16. We're going to say, okay, they brought it. And he asked them, now he saith unto them, whose is this image and superscription? Okay. Well, I mean, you know what? And they said unto him, Caesar, Caesar. Why? Yeah, that's our whole trick. I can answer that real quick. That image and subscription. Yeah, if someone showed me a penny, what are you going to look at? Well, I see Abraham Lincoln on the deal, and then I see the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and it says 1 penny, United States. Okay. So you have an image and a subscription on your superscription on your coins? Yeah. Okay, well, they had that in Jesus's day. So your coins, your money you're using has Caesar's picture on it. Yeah. And then its subscription is how much its value is. Well, it's the same thing we got. All right, so it's who's on here anyway? Well, that's Caesar. It's on there. It's worth a penny. And they said to him, Caesar, 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 Caesar. Okay, now they don't know they're being outwitted here. Luke 20:25. That's why I'm saying, trying to do this chronologically, is why you see me doing Mark and Luke. And he said unto them, render. Oh, well, I just tricked you guys. Y'all were telling me to pick between this or that. It's got to be Caesar, it's got to be God. Which one are you picking? Well, we're waiting on the answer because that's our trick that we came up with. All right. So your answer is what now? And he said unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which be God's. What? Oh, no. I told him to pick. No, we had a trick question. We had him to pick. He had to pick either Caesar or God. And here he's saying, hey, I got to give my physical coins to Caesar, and I got to give my spiritual rendering to God. Yeah, so no, you ain't getting out of paying taxes. Oh, well, but they're a bogus government. Yeah, and you're obeying the laws of the land, aren't you? Well, yeah, but I don't like the laws of the land. Okay, well, according to Jesus here, you're still supposed to pay your tax. So no, Caesar's asking for tax. Pay Caesar. Okay. Huh. And then what about picking between God? Whatever God wants, you give to God. Wow. So your render, basically, that trumped everything we had going. We got our heads together for this trick. This was a beautiful trick question. You had to pick between Caesar and God. We go and present you with the issue, and you go, oh yeah, give to Caesar what Caesar wants, give to God what God wants. Well, we weren't expecting that answer. No, because you're dealing with wisdom. Yes. Verse 26, which is how we're going to end today. Luke 20:26. And they could not take hold of his words. Yeah, words is what we were after. We were after his word. We're going to trick him with words. He said this and then he said that, and this and that don't match. And so there you go. Your guy's bogus. So the whole trick was to get word. We sent spies out to get his words. Okay. What happened to your trick? We could not, we couldn't do it. You could not take hold of his words before the people. No, well, the people's the whole trick. The people's what we're wanting. That's the currency we're dealing with here. We're wanting the people to go back to the high priest, chief priests, not to following Jesus around. Okay, well, that didn't work. So they could not take hold of his words before the people. So the people are watching. And they marveled at his answer and held their peace. Well, you ain't got another trick? Well, no. I mean, it took us a while to come up with this trick question, and it was perfect. We had spies out there ready to trick him, the whole thing. We had the whole thing set up to where yes was bogus and no was bogus. We had the whole trick. He destroyed our trick. All right, so what are we going to do now? Well, let's stick with the same plan. Let's go ahead and figure out some way where we can get him arrested and have the Romans kill him. Okay. Well, let's have to come up with a new plan. This one didn't work. We were going to get him on words, so we're going to have to do something in the future. So if you study more Bible with us, you'd find out, yeah, that that's what they end up doing. They end up sending him to Pontius Pilate, who was the governor, and said, "Hey, this guy said he's better than Caesar. That's against Caesar's law. You guys ought to kill him." Okay, so you didn't give up on killing Jesus. No, we just gave up on this trick question we had, and we got out tricked. Okay, by what? Well, the word render. Yeah, we weren't expecting the word render. We weren't expecting them to say pay Caesar what Caesar wants to be paid and pay God what God wants to be paid. Yeah, we weren't expecting that. All right, so I'm marveling at that answer. So no more questions. Okay, so you're talking about what, 10 minutes out of Jesus's life? Well, probably 5 minutes. Oh, and you have this many scriptures. Yeah, just think what's not written. All right, so what's today's lesson? That's what we're going to end up with. Today's lesson is we pay our physical debts to physical entities. Okay, well, I have like federal and state taxes, and if I live in New York, I'd have local tax. Yeah. You're going to render. What? No, I want to say that I'm a Bible guy. I ain't got to pay the government nothing. Well, we just learned that ain't happening. You're supposed to render unto Caesar. Okay, so we pay our physical debts to physical entities. We pay our spiritual debts. Well, what's the spiritual debt? Obeying the commandments. Oh, yeah. So not only I want you to pay your physical debt to physical entities and pay your spiritual debts to spiritual entities. Who's the head of who owns your spirit? Where'd your spirit come from? Our Father. Okay. Well, that's who you're indebted to. You got a spirit created by him. What do you want? How are you going to pay him? Well, I'm just going to obey his commandments and I can live with him, and he's got a reward waiting on me. Oh, okay. So your payments in there is actually going to be rewarded in the end? Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm in Cyber Church of Christ. I'm actually wanting to be saved in the end. Okay. And what about your physical debt? I'm going to pay them, as long as I can there. I won't pay my physical debts. And what about your spiritual debts? I'm going to continue obeying commandments. And when I don't, if I disobey, I'm going to ask for forgiveness because that's a commandment. Okay. Anyway, I just thought I'd have this lesson out there today on render, on Jesus, them trying to come up with some kind of logical question deal. But the word render is you pay who you're supposed to pay. If you want to pick between the government and pick between God, there ain't no picking between. You owe the government what you owe the government, you owe God what you owe God. Oh, so there goes your trick question. Well, we're not going to have any more questions. No, I guess not. Took us a while to come up with this one, and we got outsmarted. Okay. Anyway, we're Cyber Church of Christ. We'd love to have you study with us in person, and especially attend the assembly worship with us on Sunday, like we're doing now. And then plus we have Bible study afterwards. Any comments or questions about the lesson or any Bible question we can have afterwards. So we have our Bible class after the assembly. We're the Cyber Church of Christ. You can get a hold of us at cybercochrist@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. We love you and hope you have a great day and a great week, and that you watch more of our videos and contact us. or the Cyber Church of Christ.